Hey, what's up? Ryan Kohler here, Hiring Guru, with today's hiring tip. And to be honest, it's the beginning of a bunch of tips that have to do with what we do during a time of crisis. Hiring when everything is changing around us. Hiring during crisis, chaos, disruption, all of those kind of things, right? And my guess is that you are probably just wondering what you should do next or trying to even wrap your head around it. So today I'm going to go through my approach to how I go about doing these things, founded and proven in Hire Hacking and Growth Hacking 101. So stick around, we've got some great tips coming for you. Now look, it's crazy to even bring up that there's a crisis right now because clearly we all know it. And if you think about the story of the last few months, right? Massive crisis, massive chaos, massive disruption, right? And it's impacting everybody differently, different based on your industry, different based on the area, the country you're in, and it's going to continue as we go through this roller coaster and navigate this really stormy sea. It's not something that's just going to snap back to where we were at. Some of our clients, some people in some industries are overworked and overwhelmed. Their teams are overworked and overwhelmed. Some of them shifted the way they were working, shifted from in the office to working from home. Some of them shifted just parts of their company that way. Some shifted from people coming in the restaurant to now doing takeout and doing delivery and doing drive-through work. Some laid off and furloughed workers. There is the one thing that I guarantee if you're listening to this happen, and that is that you had to adjust to the craziness that was going on. Now, the sad thing is we're hoping that stuff just goes back to normal, and I'm afraid I can guarantee one thing, that's not true. The funny thing is, no matter how you listen to, you're going to get a different story. Some might say, hey, there's going to be a rush to hire. As we reopen, everybody's going to jump back in and start hiring like crazy, and there's going to be a huge competition. And if that's the case, then it's going to be hard to get your own workers back because they'll maybe have other opportunities. Some say there's going to be a flood of applicants because there's 20 or 25 or 30 million unemployed people, and all those people are going to apply for your jobs. Other people look at that and say there's going to be a lack of applicants. Those 20 or 30 million people, they get additional unemployment benefits until the end of July. That's actually, in my counting as of today, like 3 months away. If you decide to open back up and start hiring, and that's your target audience, then you might actually have a lack of applicants because you might think they're coming back. Here's what I can tell you for sure is most likely whatever you think is going to happen isn't the case, regardless of what you think, because we literally don't know, because we are in a time of chaos. And we need to embrace that. We are currently living in a time of chaos. It started a few months ago, and it's going to extend for a while because I'm not sure that we ever get back to normal, which means even if the new normal, it's going to be chaotic and disruptive to us. So let me tell you kind of what happens during those events. If you know much about me, I'm a growth hacker, and growth hackers are like David versus Goliath. They are the people who build companies from nothing, with nothing, the kind of the underdogs, right? The ones that you're surprised that they're still around. I was doing a podcast today, and one of the other growth hackers was on there, and he said, man, people say I'm a cockroach company, not a unicorn, but a cockroach. And I was offended, and I said, what does that mean? They say, when everything ends, you'll still be around, right? And that really is what our goal is here. When there is chaos, when there is massive disruption, I can tell you, if you look at who comes out the other side ahead of the game, it is almost always the growth hackers. It is people who approach life a little differently. But let's just talk about what our options are, both personally and professionally and business-wise. Option number one, we are in a time of massive chaos. We are in a huge, the world's craziest storm, and we are out at sea. Our option number one is we can freeze. We can literally just freak out and panic, and almost all of us do it at some point. It just depends on how long we stay in that state, but basically we're going to sink. Just imagine that you're out at sea in a crazy storm, and you're just floating there, not in a boat, just alone, like your boat is already gone, right? You're there in the ocean. Option number one is you freeze, and if you quit moving and just sit there, you're going to sink, and you just hope that you come back up for breath before something bad happens, that the storm settles before you die. It's not where we want to be. We all do freeze at some point. Number two is we could tread water. We could just try our best to just stay up with our head above water. And I believe that's where a lot of us are at right now, right? We're just treading water. the good part is you don't freeze and sink, and the bad part is that you might not come out ahead of the game. You might not actually get out of the danger zone. Or if you do, you might barely survive, right? And the third option is you can swim. You can actively move towards safety. Now, clearly the problem with that is, well, where is safety at? And that really is where we come down to what my 3 tips are for you today when it comes to what to do about hiring both today and in the future. And this is my tips for all time. It was my tips when you had a talent shortage and things were normal. It's my tips right now during the crisis, and it's my tips when we come out on the other side. Step 1 is clearly to protect yourself, and my guess is that's what everybody did, right? Make sure you know what was working and where your stuff is at. Take a moment, reevaluate what's been happening. Look at your data. Where were your applicants coming from? Where were your hires coming from? What was going on, right? Now, step 2 is probably the hardest part. Step 2 says the people who survive in crisis are those who change and adapt, period. Those who change and adapt survive in times of crisis. Not those who sink and not those who tread water. You want to come out on the other side stronger, with momentum, and surviving. And the way you do that is to pivot and to change. Specifically, what that means is the strategy that you were using before is not going to be the strategy in the future. You're going to need to adjust it. The tactics you were using before are probably not going to be ones that work today or in the future. You need to change it. And the last thing, and the most important of it, because you're saying, well, I don't know what to change to, is you need to decrease your cycle time. What I mean by that is you need to actually get better, not at the strategy or not at the tactics, but at identifying what to do, implementing something, and reevaluating as often as possible. Most of the time, we're very slow to change. In the HR world, we think of plans in 5-year plans and 3-year plans and 1-year plans, or even an entire hiring season. We have a plan for what we're doing. And I'll be honest, most likely it's the same plan you got from last year. You just copied it into this year. If you want to survive and thrive and come out on the other side ahead of the game and with momentum, you need to decrease the cycle time. And what that means is you need to be cycling every week, every month in what you're doing. What's going on? What do we need? Who do we need to hire? How is it different than before? What is our process? How can we evolve it? What will be the right way to do it? Let's do that. Stop at a period of time, look back and say, is it working? If not, what can we change? Change needs to be the normal. Change needs to be the status quo. Not change like massive change, small incremental change. Lift up your head and try to get 1% better each day. Lift up your head. See where you think it will work. Start in that direction, making incremental positive change. Lift up your head again. See if you're making progress and make more change. Instead of long-term plans and long-term strategies, you need to be creative, you need to be agile, you need to be flexible, and you need to do it more often. And what that means is when you come out in the end, you will start adjusting to the economic conditions. You will start adjusting so that you are ahead of the curve. The cool thing about hiring is that everybody else is status quo and slow to change, which means you don't have to be that aggressive at change to stand out from the crowd. Now, what does this mean in actual action? It's really simple. Number 1, identify the type of people you're going to need. Number 2, and that means identify the people you want to clone, not the requirements. Number 2, write good job ads. I know, I've been talking about this forever, but write awesome, unique, creative, transparent, authentic job ads that sell your job to the target audience. Those job ads might be a little bit, they're going to not be the status quo. They're going to stand out from everybody else. They might even be a little bit controversial. But write ads that target those people. Reduce the friction for people applying. Make it easier to apply. Make sure you have good questions. Make sure you have an efficient process. Make sure you have screening questions and remote interviewing and video interview and audio interview and use Zoom and use assessments. Use all of these tools that give you leverage and allow you to do things at scale. But most importantly, go back and cycle and adjust and adjust and adjust. If you get in the mentality that you're constantly improving or evolving, that the process is not a one-time thing you create, but a living, breathing thing that you're constantly evolving and improving, it will allow you to tack and navigate as things change on the ground. It will allow you to be different in California than in Utah than in Montana. It will allow you to be different than other nursing facilities or restaurants or hotels. It will allow you to adjust to what's going on out there. And if you need help with this, this is a great time to hit us up. follow our podcast, follow our videos, or to be honest, you can reach out to me directly. Shoot me an email. Tell me your challenge and let me record a video. Let me help you and give you some ideas of how to approach it. This is the time to reach out to people outside of the norm and say, what would you do if you were me? Take their advice, adjust it, and implement it and try it. So thanks so much for watching. We have a whole series of videos coming up, so make sure you stay tuned about how to navigate, how to hire, how to adjust during a time of chaos, disruption, and crisis, because that's where we're at, and it's where we're going to be out for a while. Accept it, own it, embrace it. Become the kind of person who can deal and navigate these times, and you will become insanely valuable to your organization. You personally will come out on the other side of this stronger, more powerful, more calm in times like this, more confident with what you do, and more confident in how you do it when it comes to hiring. So stick around. Good luck hiring in the meantime, and we'll talk to you soon.